The Minnesota Vikings should seriously consider pursuing Mac Jones as a trade option for next season because he's the missing piece this team needs to make the playoffs. Look, they went 9-8 last season. Quietly, they ended their year on an absolute tear, but instead of making the playoffs, they were staring at a season that could have been, primarily due to the fact that they had subpar quarterback play all year long. Like, let's just face the facts. J.J. McCarthy, although he had some highs, it was mostly lows and injuries all year long. And unfortunately, you just can't bank on that or expect that to change heading into year 3, dramatically at least, without any competition or anybody to learn under. Bringing in Mac Jones, not only does it provide that competition element, but he could outright win the job day one. And I honestly think he could start and make the playoffs with the Minnesota Vikings next season. Welcome back. It's JV Show. I'm doing a quick hitter on Mac Jones to the Minnesota Vikings, a potential trade the Vikings can make this offseason. Look, I really like the move. Mac Jones balled out when he had the opportunity given to him in San Francisco this past season. If you total up his 8 games, you averaged them out, you totaled it up over a 17-game season, he was on pace for 4,500 yards, 27 total touchdowns, and a rounded up 70% completion percentage. Those are all pro numbers. Those are phenomenal numbers. And a former first-round pick, a guy that's proven he can make the playoffs when he has the team around him, when he has the support. Back in New England, his rookie year, 10-7, they make the playoffs. Bill Belichick's defense, second in points against. He can do it. He's proven he can play at a high level, and he can at least run an offense and provide a stable floor of production. That's what the Vikings need. Minnesota is in a very fortunate spot right now. They were able to score and bring back Brian Flores, keep him in-house as a defensive coordinator. This guy, ladies and gentlemen, a mastermind on the defensive side of the ball. One of the best coordinators in the game right now. A guy that got legitimate head coaching looks this past season from legitimate teams, not bum teams like the New York Jets. Sorry for them to catch a stray right now, but we're talking the Baltimore Ravens. Teams of that tier were looking at Brian Flores, but instead, he's staying in Minnesota. So you got to capitalize. This is a guy that absolutely dominates in creating chaos, sending pressure, sending the blitz, and disguising pressure looks. You can't give up on this opportunity. It is right there. That defense single-handedly probably won you 9 games this past season. If you have an honest, realistic quarterback in there that can run the offense, that can facilitate to Jordan Addison, to Justin Jefferson, you could have something special. You could be looking at an 11, a 12-win season with proper quarterback play. Now, the issue is that the San Francisco 49ers, seeing Mac Jones ball out last year, well, they're not just going to give him up for nothing. Matter of fact, Kyle Shanahan really wants to keep Mac Jones in-house as a backup to Brock Purdy. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't? Considering Brock Purdy's injury history, you want a backup that you can rely on, somebody that plugs right into your great system and balls out. But I promise you, at the right price, they will give up Mac Jones, and you can score him. Maybe it's a third-round pick. Maybe a second's too steep, but I really like the move. And furthermore, the former GM for the Minnesota Vikings, the guy that drafted J.J. McCarthy, of course with Kevin O'Connell, understandable, but the GM that made the move is no longer there. So the strings attached, the ties to J.J. McCarthy, they're not nearly as strong as they once were. Now you have a little bit more room to wiggle. You have a little bit more confidence to go out and make a statement move. You saw Sam Darnold and what he could do and what he did for this team in year 1 under the Kevin O'Connell system. That could be Mac Jones. And Mac Jones would seriously benefit from having a receiver like Justin Jefferson, somebody he could rely on. You want to keep Jettis happy? You bring in a quarterback that's done it at a high level, a veteran that understands offenses, that can compete and play at least at a confident and stable level all year long and provide you 10 to 12 targets, quality targets all game long, you keep Jefferson happy, the offense becomes more productive, and all of a sudden, you're looking at the playoffs and saying, oh my God, we have a chance. Mac Jones is on a 2-year, $8 million contract right now. You can afford that. It might be a steep cost to go out and trade for him, but if you got the balls of steel, you go out and you do it. This is an opportunity that you don't want to miss on. The offensive line, the running back situation, you can patch that up. Free agency through the draft. That's where I would target. Also, maybe looking at the safety position, considering the situation with Harrison Smith. But overall, the missing piece has been quarterback, and we saw that with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. He's young. I am all for the development aspect of the game and waiting and seeing what he can do. But last year, it was just too concerning to bet on for another season. You don't know how much longer you got Brian Flores in-house. You don't know how much angrier Justin Jefferson could get. He was fed up all year long, and he is a superstar. You don't want to give that up. And Mac Jones is a guy that has played in various different offenses, learned under some of the best coaches, coordinators, offensive minds in the game. What he could bring to Minnesota, it's unmatched. I've heard rumors. Maybe it's Anthony Richardson to Minnesota. Maybe it's Kyler Murray to Minnesota. I don't want a midget running my offense, and I don't want a project. I don't want that if I'm Minnesota. I'm looking at my situation, and I'm simply saying we're right there. We need the finishing touches. We don't need a superstar quarterback. We don't need a project. We don't need some toddler running around. All respect to Kyler Murray, but that's just not what we're in store for right now. That's not what we need. We're demanding a quarterback that can come in, complete 20 to 25 passes a game, run the offense, and allow the defense to win you games. Simply put, Anthony Richardson comes in and you need to develop him. You need to work on him. The coach drafted him as a project and expected him to start week 1. Confusing and concerning. Kyler Murray's been in the league for 8 to 9 years now? It clearly just hasn't worked. It might not be that long now that I said that. I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself. But you understand what I mean. He's been in the league for a long time. I don't think it works. But you look at a guy like Mac Jones, who's coming off a really great year, who's not at this insane high price that you need to pay for. You might need to give up a little bit in a trade, but it's going to be worth it. That's what the Vikings need. If they go into next season without some real competition at the quarterback spot, I think they're in for another disappointing year. I think Jettas just becomes more frustrated and disappointed with this team. And another season with Brian Flores as coordinator goes to waste. Another season with a great defense. They were 7th in points against, points allowed this season. They had a phenomenal defensive year, ended the season with 5 straight wins, and yet still couldn't crack the playoffs. They're screaming, just give us a stable quarterback. And I think Mac Jones is the option. If they can pull off a trade with the San Francisco 49ers, make a quick deal with them, I think this is the answer, fellas.